Okay. I'm so sorry that I always have to do that at the beginning. I should work a little bit harder to figure out if I can do that before I go live. P.S. Hello. I will be here soon. Oh, here it is. I promise to start going live, to be live, to make some art. Got my sound turned off. Bringing up my video. Fingers crossed for a great night. Yes, yes. Please and thank you. Hi, Alice. I'm good. I'm really good. How are you? I'm really good. Like I've got, I don't know, my brain is just working really well, and I've got some ideas and some new projects I'm gonna work on, and some fun stuff, and new products gonna come out soon-ish. And yeah, I'm productive, and that makes me feel good. How are you? I have a good balance right now. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so exciting to work on new stuff. Like I really like taking older techniques and supplies into new areas as well. Like that's one of my favorite things. Of course, I love buying new stuff and trying new things, but when I can make something I have work in a new way for me, that is even better. I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get Facebook Live to work last night, because I really want to work on that particular project, and I haven't got to work on it this week because I'm trying to only work on it during lives. But I may have to move it to YouTube. I have such a hard time with Facebook, and I do not have that hard of a time on YouTube, so I don't know, man. I mean, it is what it is, and I was there, and I really did. I was live, quote unquote, for 10 minutes. And I think I was actually connected for 2 of the 10 minutes. And then every time I went to say, hey, or let's get started, or let's just wade through, like it would disconnect again. And I am not a fan. So that's all right. It is what it is. I will start creating art at 7 o'clock. I try to go from 7 to 8 so I get a good solid hour in, and it's just easier to time that way. And I just come a few minutes early so everyone can sort of get here. If you are watching the replay and you want to fast forward, I would say go about 6 minutes. while I wait for the time to get here, I'm just, look at this, like, I love this book so much. I don't even want to add anything to it. This little jelly print book with the alcohol inks. It's so unique compared to everything else that I've done in the past. And then it's just such a good collection of everyone's samples. I love it. And I love how it flips back and forth, and it goes really well too, like. And it has such a nice sound. My project I didn't work on that I wanted to work on. Look at my cool bag. I know, the inks are, they really are just so interesting. All right, it's 7. Let's get started. Hello, watchers. It's absolutely okay that you're watching and not commenting. I'm glad to have you in any old capacity. If you would, however, please give the video a thumbs up. That would be great. And if you're watching the replay as well, please and thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. All right, so let's see our journal here. I have been sharing this spread everywhere. I'm still so happy about it. All the texture and the goodness. I need to work on these pages. Hi, Nancy. I always like to ask, let me know if there's anything you guys want to see. Otherwise, I will choose what to do in the book. I was thinking, I love piecing together words so much from vintage text that it would look really good across these dark lines here. It would be such a good contrast, and then a nice break too, because we've got all this texture and then we go very simple, 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 and then sort of like medium simple texture. So I'm thinking just a nice break in the middle with some inspirational words or something. So let me think about that a minute while I continue to flip through these pages. These need some work still. They're not quite me yet. They're getting there, but this is one of my favorite tags. I still think about just putting it on top there so we can see its goodness, because there are parts and pieces though of this book that come out that are interactive, so I don't know about that yet either. Oh yes, goodness. This might look good too, this here with just some Asemic writing inside this old ledger paper. Just finish it off, and maybe it doesn't need that much more. I always forget that I worked inside this page too, because that was such a while ago. So funny. Oh, and these, man, good stuff can be happening here, hey? Does anybody have a preference tonight as far as what gets done? Hi, Doreen. How are you? Thank you so much for saying that. I really love it too. This book is really going far. Like, it's just has so much incredible stuff happening inside it. And now at this point, I am not unhappy with anything, which is great. It's a great feeling to open the book and just love every little bit that I've got. Because I don't exactly know what I want to do, and it's absolutely okay that you guys don't want to see anything specific, so I am just gonna push some paint around. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna get out some gesso, and you know what I'm gonna do is get out, let me grab it really quick, my charcoal powder. So I have charcoal powder, I have white gesso, and I have clear gesso. Let me double check that this is clear. Yeah, okay. All right, so here's what I've got out now, and I'm gonna push some around. Oh yeah, I'm sorry that you got hacked on Facebook, Doreen, but heck yeah, come over to YouTube. This is where I'm gonna be from now on. I love it. It makes me happy. I'm happy with the service. So, okay, so I have General's powdered charcoal, and if I remember correctly, General's is not making powdered charcoal anymore, but you can find other powdered charcoal, or you can buy charcoal sticks and make it yourself, or you can like literally cook wood in your grill, in your fireplace, and use that charcoal as well. But, oh yeah, okay, it's still powdered. So I have powdered charcoal. I have regular old Liquitex Professional gesso. Okay, I love this gesso. It's my favorite. Well, I'm going to show you why, Nancy, okay? And then I also have a bottle of clear Liquitex gesso. This has tape around it so that I know it's clear, because when I travel, I have smaller bottles that I take with me, and sometimes I would grab the clear instead of the white, and then I would get pissed. So just a little friendly tip. If it has tape on it at my house, that means it's not regular. Okay, in the case of water bottles, instead of water, it may have vinegar or alcohol in it, which are both things I keep on hand while I'm working with certain supplies and materials. Let's see, where are we going? This way. We're going here. Okay, got a clip out. Nope. There we go. And I need to prop this up because, there we go. So it's kind of flat, a nice even surface I can work on. Don't you trust me yet, Nancy? Jeez Louise. All right, I have this container. I'm going to put a little clear over here, and I'm going to put a little white on the other side so that I have both ready. And I'm not like trying to get them out of the container and you're having to wait and my charcoal's doing weird stuff, etc. Okay? So, and you can tell the difference when it's in the cup, maybe not on this camera, but the white is definitely opaque and the clear has a bit of translucency to it. And then also this has texture. You can see the texture because it's kind of gritty. And then the white is very, very smooth. But I have absolutely made the mistake before of dumping like gesso on my page to move around. And then I go, oh, it's clear, not white. Why did it take me so long to realize that? So keep that in mind, okay? All right, and then I'm gonna set this here. And I've got a paintbrush. What do I have? I have this guy. Okay, so I'm gonna use, hi Pam. I'm gonna use this brush. It's fairly large. It's one of my favorites. You can tell like the bristles are getting, you know, kind of sad, and I don't know how much longer it's gonna last, but that's okay because I can use it for some of the rougher stuff now while I'm working, and it's not, you know, used for precision anymore. And I am gonna tap this and just try to make sure that all the charcoal is out of the lid, otherwise it kind of goes everywhere. And I'm going to use my brush, and I just dip a very small amount. And I mean, you can use more, but it is powder, so it goes everywhere. And I kind of shake a little bit of the excess off. And I'm going to pounce a little around here. And can you see the smoke flying? So it's, I mean, it's powdered. The charcoal is going to go places. It's going to spread. It's going to mesh out. But then I'm going to come in with my clear gesso. And by adding clear gesso to the powdered charcoal, I am activating it as well as making it permanent so that it will stop spreading around. Okay? And then when I have a bit of clear, I'm going to rinse out my brush and come back in with some white to lighten it up and really get some interesting texture in this charcoal. And I can switch back and forth between the white and the clear and wash out my brush because I don't want to lose all that charcoal. I want some dark areas still. And I'm taking the excess paint that's on my brush and brushing it off so that when I come back, I can pick up some of the darker areas without necessarily lightening them too much with the white areas that are there. And if that's an issue, if I feel like I lost too much of the actual charcoal while everything is still wet, I can come back with more. As long as I can push it down into the wet medium, then I know it will stick to the page. But the one thing you kind of need to be leery about is, you know, if you just have charcoal floating around, then you'll have charcoal floating around. So, and depending on how you feel, you may have a rag or a paper towel close by, and you can kind of buff some of that away. Not a ton, but just to sort of see what's happening. And it's just a unique texture. And I love the music notes peeking through. So I'm going to dry this. And I'm looking at these holes that I made in this page previously, and I'm thinking that I'd really like those to be super stark. So I'm going to color those in with a wet Stabilo. And that was just a little bit. Like, it's even cooler when you use that dark charcoal on like a huge page and you can really get it to spread out and do some amazing things. Like, seriously, it's very, very cool. All right. So I think now on top of that, you know what? I bought them vintage shopping once. The giant clips, I bought them vintage shopping. I know some links on Amazon to a smaller version, but I don't think they come this big anymore. All right, so I'm gonna scrub some gesso around. Again, I don't have a plan right now, and that's okay. So if I just move some of my favorite supplies around and, you know, get a feeling, a mood going, then something might come up. Hi, Lisa. No problem. I'll always be here for you. All right, a little more. Oh yeah, okay. I am starting to like the moodiness. Sorry, it's a bit hard to keep it flat. It has so much thickness to it now. Yep, powdered charcoal mixed with gesso, and then now I'm coming back in a little bit with just straight gesso. And doing a few things here and there. And I have to tell you guys, so I've been working on some smaller pieces on the side to have a small pop-up shop on December 1st. I need to make an announcement, but so like Patreon members who are becoming YouTube supporters now, don't forget, will have first dibs. But what's happening in my journal has been being translated into my like one-off pieces, which is really fun for me and just sort of gives me a whole, you know, avenue to go down. It's been fun. Absolutely welcome. Do you want me to call you Palm? You let me know, and I will work hard to remember, but if I don't, please just feel free to correct me in the future, should you come back. All right, so as I bring in different layers of this gesso, so one of the things about gesso, right, is that it kind of activates quite a few different materials. But so when I bring it in, and I've brought it in over, you got it, Palm. I brought it in over charcoal, and there's a little bit of stabilo on the page and things like that. So it kind of grays out. And then also it is gesso. So it thins out, and then you can see some of the stuff underneath it. But every time I come in, again, with a new brush load of gesso, and it's not a lot because I'm using a dry brush technique, which means that there's a small amount on my brush and there's no excess water, so that then I can sort of do this whole scrubby textured look. Every time I come back with a new load of gesso, then the white gets just a little bit whiter. So it's a work in progress, and this is one, I haven't used this term in a long time, but it's the dance. So you put a little paint on, you move it around, you kind of take it away a little bit. You put a little more paint on, you know, you move it around, you take it away a little bit. And then you just kind of keep working. instead of just slathering on so much gesso, especially when we're this many layers in. Like, we don't want to lose the integrity of our pages. I've worked so long and so hard on them that if I were to just slather the whole thing in gesso, I would lose quite a bit of the life that these pages have at this current point. Now, if I got to a point where I seriously was just unhappy with whatever was happening on the page, and which I did recently, right? I can cover the entire thing in gesso and then just have that crazy texture to work on top of. But in this case, I still really like the base of the pages that are here. I'm just working now on making it a bit more cohesive and building up its integrity. Yeah, black gesso is fine. I don't use it that often. In fact, I don't think I've picked up black gesso in years. But yeah, it's a fine product. I don't use it a lot in my art, and so it's not really fair for me to say, oh, it's good, it's bad, because I don't use it that much. So how does it compare to, it's black, so it really depends, of course, what company you get, but because it's black, it covers a lot easier than white gesso does. Or how does it compare to charcoal? Because in that case, it's way, way different, and you can't really compare the two at all. Right? I know. I'm trying to be objective because I don't use it that much. So it would almost be more fair, you know, if you ask someone who makes a habit of using it. What's so funny? What did I mess up there? I'm trying to remember where I stuck it. Because I totally would get it out and use it if I knew. But I will also tell you this. I'm in a smaller space temporarily, so I don't have 100% of my supplies. And because I don't use it that often, the gesso, black gesso, definitely got put in storage. I'm so sorry that I can't help you with that, because I do really like to try and help everybody. But yeah. Black gesso is fun, so it just creates a whole different texture, a whole different mood, feeling, atmosphere because it's so dark. And then it's like you're starting opposite. You're starting on a dark surface and bringing other things lighter. It's really interesting. I have this bit up here where the bingo card is peeking out. And I'd like to sort of knock that back a bit. So I'm going to do it while I have the gesso out. Just a tiny bit. Like, not, you know, I don't want to lose, again, the integrity of the bingo card. Because that's one of my favorite things about working on these different surfaces. There you go. Yeah, and Michelle's really helpful too. She'll totally tell you all about the gesso. I say, yes, black gesso usually has a texture more similar to white gesso. A lot of people dislike clear gesso because of the grittiness of it, which I always find interesting. I like the gritty texture, and it creates, you know, a whole different surface for me to work on. But I think the black gesso is closer to white gesso in texture. Yep. And not all clear gesso is gritty, but the majority of them, I would say, are. Which is fine, because you can just knock back the grittiness with some sandpaper. And, you know, if you love that texture, oh yeah, which you do, I just saw your comment. If you love the texture, you can always add sand and texture beads and things to your black gesso. Oh, you didn't like Goldens, huh, Nancy? So Nancy, you use black gesso a lot too? Yeah, so Pam said, I like black gesso backgrounds because of the depths it gives to the colors that you put on top. And that will always be true. I love black so much because it just makes everything look so vibrant and gorgeous. It really is in a whole ballpark of its own. When it comes to black, I prefer golden fluid acrylic in carbon black. I buy the big one. I mean, I love how it works. I love everything about it. And I don't use it as a gesso. Now, if I were using a base or covering a whole big surface black to then work with bright colors on top of, I most certainly would go and get something a bit more economical, like a gesso, container of gesso. But I use black all the time, just not as gesso. I use it as golden fluid acrylic, and it does really, really make colors pop. That's its job. That's what it's for. It's so good. And I was really inspired, actually, now that I'm sitting here, by some work I saw on Instagram today. It was just a black and white painting. So I think that's what I'm going to do with these pages. Yeah, because we've got blue before and blue after. So I'm going to keep building up the black and the white on these pages. I'm going to pour some fluid acrylic, and I'm going to go back and forth between brushing on black and brushing on white to sort of see what kind of moods I can evoke. And I love that I have this texture gray charcoal background that I'm working on. Oh yeah, I love that you guys are all sharing. Absolutely, please do. That's such good information. Yeah, so I prefer paint as black and ink. I also have a large bottle of ink. So, yep, I am a fan of paint and ink as well when it comes to black. I wanted to show you real quick this up close so you can get a good view of this gray, very moody, sort of storm cloudy almost texture and feeling that's happening. So you can see that up close. And then I'm gonna, like I said, go over with some black strokes and some white strokes and sort of just play it back and forth by ear and see how this goes in a very abstract sort of way tonight. I did not build the holes with gesso. So this page is very thick. I'll try to take a picture and show you guys later. It's a manila envelope, both sides. No, it's okay, Palm, don't worry. It's a manila envelope, both like the front and the back, because an envelope has a front and a back. And then there's a piece of cardstock on top of that. And I punched the holes in the cardstock and then glued it on. And then there's some collage on top and I think a little bit of tape. And then on the back, there's layers of stickers and paint and gesso and things like that. So it's a really thick, sturdy, heavy page. But the holes were made with a hole punch as a second separate layer. I know. I love that too, Alice. Yeah. It's so nice. Like, I'm going to try really hard not to lose that. And then on this page, you can see some music notes. Yeah, I'm going to work on not losing those for sure. All right, so let's see. I say that and then I almost like just go directly over them. Ooh, I love this. So I seriously just scrubbed my brush across. And I'm a fan already. It's almost like a city scene, like a cityscape. Come in with a little darker, not so scrubby. Get some variety and some texture in the black. So I'm not trying to add extra marks. I'm just adding some value in the black itself. And I love this piece up here, but I don't like that it was, there we go, that it was like almost a plus sign. Hi, Julie, how are you? All right, so I just put my brush in water, which I wish I hadn't done because now it's wet and I can't do dry brushing with this brush until it dries completely. So I'm gonna wash it out really well and set it to the side, and then I'll pick up another brush. But I do wanna show you this one because it is one of my absolute favorite brushes. It's a medium size filbert. So it has, is it there? Is it, that should work. It's a medium-sized filbert. So it's not a round brush. It's sort of flat, and then it has a curved surface at the top, like a curved edge. It's a little beat up, so it's hard to tell. But I love this so much. You can tell. But I'm going to put that to the side and let it dry so that I can come back and do some dry brushing. You've missed half of the show. So I go live from 7 to 8 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But you can just finish watching with us and then go back and watch the first half. Or if you really want to, you can totally rewind it right now and watch from the beginning. And then when I'm done, you'll have, you know, another half hour to watch still. All right, so let's see. I definitely, okay, here, I'm going to use this filbert. So it's a little bit smaller in size to the other one, but you can even see how well loved this one is. I just love this shape of brush so much, and that's totally a personal preference, but I try to let you know everything that, you know, that I'm doing, that you're seeing. So coming back in with my filbert, and I just want to go back over this a bit more. Like I want to add more white. I want to add more strokes. I really want to build up the emotion that is here. And to do that, I need to add more paint. And at this point, in this particular portion of the juncture, whatever, the journey, that is, you know, dry brushing is where I'm at. So a little, a lot, we'll see. I'm just gonna sort of try it and see what happens, and then I can, of course, always come back and add more black. Like I said, going back and forth. I'm doing the dance and figuring out exactly what I want out of this. And I can already tell I've pushed back quite a bit of that black. So I'm going to come back in and do some more. Oops, there's too much on my brush. There we go. But there are definitely some parts I like about it. I should have gotten a little closer to show you how stark the black was, and then the difference that just coming in with a tiny bit of white can make. All right, so I don't want to wash my brush because then it'll be wet and I won't be able to dry brush. So I'm just going to go back and forth on my under paper until there's no more white paint coming off. And then I'm going to go back in with black again. And the thing about working with paint in such thin layers is that it does dry really quickly. Also, we have a bunch of new faces tonight, which is really exciting. So just so you know, I live in the desert. I live in Las Vegas. All my stuff, excuse me, dries really, really quickly. So I do still have to heat some things, you know, to be able to move on to the next step. But it is a far less often, a far fewer problem. It doesn't happen near as often for me as it does for some other artists, especially anybody in a humid area. So if you're, you know, kind of wondering about that, that's what's happening. All right. Now, let me tell you, I wish that I had both filberts clean so that I had one for black and one for white. Okay, I got to get another brush. That's all right. Oh, my one is almost dry, but not quite. So I'll come in with a round. It's not that I don't like my round, I just can't scrub with it as well as I can a filbert because the filbert has that flat surface to it. There I went. Oh, what did I say? What did I say? That I wish I had two? I do have two, just one's wet. There we go. I did? Oh. Oh, I see what you're saying. The live stopped? I didn't even see it. I'm sorry. I'm in my zone so much, I didn't even see that. I'm so glad you caught it too, Pam, because yeah, this is how I do it. I call it the song and dance. You know, you put a little on, you take a little off, you push a little around, you put a little more on. And again, not again, I've said it in the past, but if you're new to me or, you know, theory or anything like that, so it's much easier to put more on than it is to take some off. Let me tell you. Oh, this is so moody and exciting. And it's so different from some of the other things we've done in the journal. Well, taking off is hard, right? Most of the time it's easier to just cover up. So if you just move slowly, gently, and deliberately with your brush and your paint, it'll be easier to take off. But you're not really taking off, you're just building your layers slowly so that when you get to the spot where the next step is too much, you can say, oh, okay, I'm gonna stop here because I know that the next layer will be too much. Yep. And the dry brushing is picking up all kinds of textures, right? It's picking up textures of paint, it's picking up textures of collage layers and whatever, holes I've punched and papers from before and just all kinds of things. And It just creates the most unique, insane texture that is not achievable if you don't do all the layers. Like, you gotta put in the work to get there. So here's where we're at now. And I'm trying to decide if I'm ready to wash my brushes or not. I can't go forever on them because the paint does start to dry in the bristles. But I am going to go into some of these areas and brighten them up a little more. So as I was saying earlier, each time I come back in with more gesso, it adds another layer to the white and knocks back some of the color that is underneath peeking through. So it's fun to, you know, just do it in a couple spots and make them just a bit brighter than the rest. What do you think? Are we still live? I am gonna brush a little bit around the holes with the white to bring some of that contrast and make them a focal point. It's very cool, isn't it? Yeah, I've been playing a lot with this sort of effect, like in my private stuff lately. Just, you know, not for any specific reason, but it just has been and hasn't translated into my journals that much, but here it goes. I'm a super fan. I love it. And it is one of those things, again, it just takes the time. You have to put the time into it to build up the layers that are going to pick up these textures. Because they go on so thin and just a little bit at a time. You got to be willing to put it in. Nancy! Is that big where you live because there's so many forests and stuff? Like, I don't think that's very big here. Like, obviously we understand the idea, but... And now that I can see where this page has gone and is going... No, I'm not that big of a fan of that. So I was just dry brushing around those circles with black, but it's alright. It's worth trying, because then I can just come back with my white and start to knock those back a little bit more. And again, it's going to take a few layers now. Yeah, Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot. I'm a big supernatural fan. You know, cryptids and aliens and that kind of stuff. I just love hearing about it and reading about it and learning about it. And I know it's crazy. I'm not letting, you know, I'm not running away with Bigfoot or anything like that, but I just love the idea. I love the mystery behind it. Yeah, my name is Daryl. I know, right? That was so funny. Like, what a good marketing campaign. Oh. Missed one. There, look at that. That little hole was hiding. On the way to LA from Vegas, there's a huge truck stop. It has over 100 gas stations. It's the biggest terrible Herbst gas station that we have. And it's they have a giant, like, life-size Bigfoot in there. I took pictures with it. It's pretty cool. Oh, I'm sorry, at the Jack Links area. So this is it's like the largest truck stop. I don't think it's quite in the world, but it has, like, you know, a race car in it. Like, it's a huge truck stop. So they have just a whole section just for Jack Links, and like an entire aisle dedicated to it. And they have a life-size Daryl in there. All right, I'm just washing the paint out of my brushes. They didn't have much time left on them. All that dry brushing. So I got to get the paint out of those and make sure that they'll be okay. Because it's basically painting with almost dried paint. So I love these moody pages. It's a hobby to decorate tractor trailers. Oh, because that's serious trucker food. I see. Okay, I was like, I have no idea where this conversation came from. Because I said gas station, right? Yeah, truck station. It has over 100 gas pumps. Like, it was insane. There were like 3 of us there, and I just couldn't even believe it. But yeah, that's so interesting. That's really cool. Like float style, you mean? Like, yeah, Vegas. Yep, that's where I live. Sin City, right? I love this. I'm not sure where to go from here. Oh, but look, I can touch it. Like, it's not... Because I use such a small amount of paint at a time... Oh, that's not normal here, Alice. 100 gas pumps is not normal. Like, we usually have 4 or 8 gas pumps, and then maybe at a bigger one, like 30. But that's like max. I'm 33 years old. I've been all over the country, and I had never seen a gas station with this many pumps before. Like, I don't even imagine that they'll ever be full. Ever. And that's with like Labor Day traffic between Vegas and LA, which is insane, by the way. Yeah, 100 gas. It was insane. Yeah, gas pumps. Yep. Yeah, see, even Palm's like, nope, that ain't normal. Although I will also attest to, yes, everything in the U.S. is always bigger, just not that big. Like that's offensive. Not you, the 100 gas pumps. And I mean, you go in there and they have like the M&Ms in every color, like in a big tube on the wall. Like it's a huge place. It's almost like a mall. Like, I'll try to take pictures the next time I go by so you guys can see. I haven't been that way in a while. I just not sort of, had this, I don't know why, strange feeling to fill this with buttons. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna get out some white buttons and some gel medium, and I'm gonna glue a whole bunch of buttons to this page. And it's gonna work because it's right in the middle of my signatures. So that space, like the space is there for the buttons without making my book too much more full. So, cause like I've already extended the spine once, it's huge alligator mouth. I'm kind of trying to limit the 3D things that I put in here so far, or not so far, from now on, because I've put so many in. But yeah, I'm gonna glue some buttons. I don't know why. It's so weird, isn't it? That maybe just because I got a whole bunch of new buttons and I want to use them. Also, did I show you? I don't think I did. You may have seen on Instagram. Look at this beautiful bowl that my grandpa turned on the lathe. The colors are just gorgeous, aren't they? And then this side has some texture to it. It's so awesome. So I have these clips in here. I was taking some photos and I have a new tutorial coming out soon. Just fun little, you'll see, ways to alter these and have them for your art, but it's so cool. Anyways, I wanted to show you my new bowl. And look at my buttons. Aren't they cool? Thank you. I love it. He's so talented. All right. Yes. Buttons, buttons, buttons. I only like some buttons. I don't love all buttons. Is that weird? And it's not even about whether they're dirty. Like, I just like the ones that look less plasticky. I don't mind if they're plastic. I just don't want them to be plastic. Hello. What can I call you? Les Ama Art. Vintage buttons are the best. I'm sorry you have to like wait for me to dig through these buttons. Oh yeah, okay. Some more, some more. Some more. Some more. Okay, that is probably enough to cover that page. All right, that's what I will call you. Oh, okay. There's one more. So I'm going to get some gesso, not gesso, gel medium. I need to put my buttons back. In that giant bell jar. And here's my gel medium. I'm going to use the stuff that's still in the lid from when I opened it weeks ago. And I love my little silicone spatulas by Princeton. These tiny, what do they call them? I can't remember now. That's all right. It doesn't matter. They're by Princeton. And I'm going to put a fairly thick layer. And by fairly thick, I mean like the thickness of a playing card. Like not, it's not even an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch thick. Not that thick, but enough so that I can push my buttons down into it. But not so thick, you know, that it squeezes all over the place, because then that's just gross. And I think I want them in kind of cute little rows. These buttons are so vintage, they still have thread on some of them. Oh, okay. I can answer that, Alice. So gesso is generally a binder of some sort, a glue, and plaster so that it is matte when it dries, meaning no shine. Catalyst tool. Thank you, Renee. Gesso is a binder, a glue of some kind, plaster, and you know, maybe 2 or 3 other things, including water, but it dries matte, meaning no shine to it whatsoever, and it is a primer. So usually it's intended to be the base layer. One of the best things I ever learned from Donna Downey was, if you like gesso, why not use it as your white paint? You can, because you can do whatever you want. And I always like wanted to, but felt the weird necessity to also have white paint on hand. So I still have white paint on hand, but I am thankful to say that I love gesso. I love the look and the finish of it, and Donna Downey told me I could do it. So I use gesso instead of white paint. But white paint will also have a binder or, you know, a compound in it. In the case of the work that I do, it's acrylic, okay? It's actual plastic, and it's a liquidish form. And then there's other things in the paint too. But it's not intended as a base layer for anything. Does that make sense? Gesso was intended to start the painting process, to prep whatever you were working on so that it was ready to accept paint, to accept acrylic paint. So it works just fine in tandem with paint, and you can absolutely use it as both if you want, but you don't have to. And that's just it. Gesso will always be matte, where paints, different kinds of acrylic and oils and things like that, will be glossy, can be glossy, not always. You know, there are matte paints as well, but you can get glossy finishes with paint. I default to Liquitex gesso. And this that I just glued my buttons on with is Gel Gloss by Golden. Glossy gel. And I actually usually use matte gel. I ordered the wrong thing, so I'm gonna make myself use it until it's gone. And as this sits right now, I'm just gonna leave it to dry. And that's it. We're at our hour. So please let me know if you have any questions. I'll stick around for a couple minutes. We can chat about whatever you want. And I'm just going to set this to the side so that it dries appropriately, and I'll be able to use it to work more on that next week on Tuesday. You are so welcome. Absolutely. I like other types of gesso also. Liquitex is my favorite. But I also, yeah, I actually like Dick Blick's version of gesso as well as the Utrecht stuff. Golden is just fine, but it's not my favorite. It's a little runny to me for my purposes. And Liquitex, I can get better coverage with it. So... just closing up.
Okay, I'm gonna go for a walk with Potty.
Okay. Mwah.
Are you live?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're just getting done. Everyone was asking questions.
No, I was referring to me talking.
No, they can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
They heard you kiss me. That's my mister.
Anyway, Gabe's looking for your guys' characters.
Looking for our characters? Oh,
Yeah.
They're on my nightstand.
Okay.
On top of it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Love you guys.
About 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're going for a walk. Okay.
Yeah,
Love you. We're going to go play D&D when we're done. Golden is really, really smooth. It absolutely is. Yeah. So that's a great thing about it. And don't like, it's not that I don't like it. I mean, I even have some, it just, I prefer Liquitex for the coverage and the price too. Liquitex is a bit more affordable than Golden while also still being a great product. And then there's 100 other gessos out there. You could pick up really expensive stuff like Sennelier gesso. That stuff is super expensive. Winsor and Newton has gesso. I mean, there's gesso all over. Prima Marketing. You have to be careful sometimes, and I'm just, I love companies, the variety of companies that are out there, but you have to be careful sometimes when you start buying things from a crafty-based company because they're selling to a different market. So sometimes their product is a smaller amount for the same price. And I'm not talking quality, I'm talking quantity. Yeah, just put a little plaster in there. It'll go far. And yeah, absolutely. Do it. You'll have fun. Just make sure you wash that brush quickly. All right, guys, that's it. Don't fret. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I always want to say that. It's absolutely true. You can contact me on Facebook or shoot me an email or a private message here. Can you PM on YouTube? I don't know. But anyways, private message me, whatever you have. And, I'm here. I'm going live Tuesdays and Thursdays through November. Probably not next Thursday, right? It's Thanksgiving. I mean, I guess we'll see how tired I am after turkey. But also, think about subscribing, becoming a supporter. Starting in December, I'll be going back to lives just for supporters. My Patreon members and I are transferring over to YouTube. So we're doing a month free, so it's an easy transition. But if not, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and click the bell for notifications so you see other nights that I go live. I go live free on Wednesdays all the time, usually on Facebook, but I really think I'm going to switch those to YouTube also. Yeah, absolutely. So you can make your own gesso. You absolutely can. Start with an acrylic base, throw in a little plaster, throw in some white paint. I mean, but gesso's affordable. So if you're going to make anything, don't let it be gesso. Just pick up some gesso and then you can add, anything else you want to it, like plaster and things like that. Sand, some texture, things like that. Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.